Hello everyone, we are gonna continue a series of explaining about the topics of the book The Atomic Habits, and we are definitely gonna continue about recording video of the topic that of my interest, and one of the topics that I completed for the series, also known as LLM, or in the full form we can say the LLMs are also renowned in the form of large language models. So I'm definitely gonna continue for a new topic, gonna find a new topic, gonna do research on that topic if it is possible, or if research is not possible, then I'm gonna study that topic and I'll record the video explaining about that topic, irrespective of how much that topic might be hard, or how the topic might be confusing or difficult, or in a way of non-expressible, but I will try my best to do so and I will do it. So yeah, let's continue for the explanation for the book Atomic Habits, and we had just completed chapter 6 of the Atomic Habits, and we are going to continue for chapter 7, and we have almost completed, I think, 30 to 35% of this book, so we are going to finish it over few days, as I think. So yeah, let's continue. As we have utilized most of our time, or a big portion of time, in saying the introduction and the introduction parts, and the parts that are required might be for not in that particular in that particular time or in this particular period. So let's continue for chapter 7. So the heading of this chapter 7 is The Secret to Self-Control. So in 1971, as the Vietnam War was heading into its 16th year, Congressman Robert Steele from Connecticut and Morgan family Murphy from Illinois made a discovery that stunned the American public. While visiting the troops, they had learned that of 15% of US soldiers stationed they were heroin addicts. Follow-up research revealed that 35% of service members in Vietnam had tried heroin, and as many as 20% were addicted. The problem was even worse than they had initially thought. So let's continue with chapter 7. The heading of that chapter is The Secret to Self-Control. In 1971, क्या कर रहा है? पॉज किया है क्या?
नहीं किया ना कुछ बोल तो डरा.
In 1971, as the Vietnam War was heading into its 16th year, Congressman Robert Steele from Connecticut and Morgan Murphy from Illinois made a discovery that stunned the American people. While visiting the troops, they had learned that over 15% of US soldiers stationed they were heroin addicts. Follow-up research revealed that 35% of service members in Vietnam had tried heroin, and as many as 20% were addicted. The problem was even worse than they had initially thought. The discovery led to a flurry of activity in Washington, including the creation of the Special Action Force Office of Drug Abuse Prevention under President Nixon to promote prevention and rehabilitation to track addiction. Lee Robbins was one of the researchers in charge in finding that completely upended the accepted beliefs about addiction. Robbins found that when soldiers had been heroin users returned home, only 5% of them became re-addicted within a year, and just 12% replaced within 3 years. In other words, approximately 9 out of 10 soldiers who have used heroin in Vietnam eliminated their addiction nearly overnight. The finding contradicted the prevailing view at the time, which considered heroin addiction to be a permanent and irreversible condition. Instead, Robbins revealed that addictions could spontaneously dissolve if there was a radical change in the environment. In Vietnam, soldiers spent all day surrounded by cues triggering heroin use. It was easy to access, they were engulfed by the constant stress of war. They were engulfed by the constant stress of war. They built friendship with fellow soldiers who were also heroin users, and they were thousands of miles from home. Once a soldier returned to the United States, though he found himself in an environment devoid of those triggers, when the context changed, so did the habit. Compare this situation to that of a typical drug user. Someone becomes addicted at home or with a friend, goes to a clinic to get clean habit, to get clean, which is devoid of all environmental stimuli that promote the habit, then returns to the old neighborhood with all the previous cues that caused to get addicted in the first place. It's no wonder that usually you see numbers that are exactly opposite to those in the Vietnam study. Typically, 90% of heroin users became re-addicted once they returned home from rehab. The Vietnam studies ran counter of many of our cultural beliefs about bad habits because it challenged the conventional association of unhealthy behavior as a moral weakness. The Vietnam studies ran counter to many of our cultural beliefs about bad habits because it challenged the conventional association. It challenged the conventional association of unhealthy behavior as a moral weakness. If you are overweight, a smoker, or an addict, you have been told your entire life that it is because you lack self-control. Maybe even that you are a bad person. The idea that a little bit of discipline would solve all the problem is deeply embedded in our culture. It challenged the conventional association of unhealthy behavior. Recent research, however, shows something different. When scientists analyze people who appear to be tremendous self-control, it turns out those individuals aren't all that different from those who are struggling. Instead, disciplined people are better at structuring their. This recent research, however, shows something different. When scientists analyze people who appear to have tremendous self-control, it turns out those individuals aren't all that different from those who are struggling. Instead, disciplined people are better at structuring their lives in a way that does not require heroic willpower and self control. In other words, they spend less time in tempting situations. The people with the best self control are typically the ones who need to use it the least. It's easier to practice this self restraint when you don't have to use it very often. So, yes, perseverance, grit, and willpower are essential to success, but the way to improve these qualities is not by wishing you were a more disciplined person, but by creating a more disciplined environment. So the counterintuitive idea makes even more sense once you understand that what happens when a habit is formed in the brain. A habit that has been encoded in the mind is ready to be used whenever the relevant situation arises. The counter. 1972, the Vietnam War was heading into its 16th year. Congressman Robert Steele from Connecticut and Morgan Murphy from Illinois made a discovery that stunned the American public. While visiting the troops, they had learned that over 15% of US soldiers stationed there were heroin addicts. Follow-up research revealed that 35% of service members in the 15% of US soldiers stationed there were heroin addicts. Follow-up research revealed that 35% of service members in the Vietnam had tried heroin and as many as 20% were addicted. The problem was even worse than they had initially thought. The discovery led to a flurry of activity in Washington, including the creation of Special Action Office of Drug Abuse Prevention under President Nixon to promote prevention and rehabilitation and to track advised service members when they returned home. Lee Robbins was one of the researchers in charge. Lee Robbins was one of the researchers in charge. Lee Robbins was one of the researchers in charge. In a finding that completely upended the accepted beliefs about addiction, Robbins found that when soldiers Robin found that when soldiers who had been doing users returned to home, only 5% of them become re-addicted within a year and 12% replaced within 3 years.